Happy Memorial Day Monday, everyone. What's going on? Welcome to your WWE Raw review for May 26th, 2025. And we are also going to talk about last night's Double or Nothing. First things first, let me know how I look. Brand new webcam. Finally upgraded my webcam. I've been running with the same one for the past 6 or 7 years. And I decided late last night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, that I would buy a new one. It showed up on my doorstep this morning. I kind of configured it a bit. Looks okay so far. I can probably play with it a little bit, but we do have a new camera in the house here. So welcome to our Monday night Raw review stream. Should be a fun one here. I didn't get a chance to see all of Double or Nothing last night because I didn't know if I would be able to watch the whole show before we did the stream tonight because I had a busy day. So I didn't purchase the pay-per-view. I was going to buy it and then just watch the whole thing, but I was worried I would have time to do it, so I never really did. So I was able to catch most of the highlights. I've got all of the results. I got a pretty good idea what went on, and I had a lot of feedback from you guys, a lot of feedback. So based on that and some of the highlight packages that I was able to watch and a few clips that I got DM'd to by some of you, thank you very much for that, I was able to get caught up as best I could on the pay-per-view last night, and I think we'll be able to offer a pretty solid recap of it tonight. That Hangman Page and Will Ospreay match was something else. Excuse me while I fix my cat. Hey, get down. Get down. There we go. Jesus. Tito is all over the place right now, and he's driving me nuts. So anyway, had to get him down. But that Will Ospreay and Hangman Page match, that was one of the best, pay-per-view main events that I've ever seen. It's exactly why I love having two companies. It's exactly why I love that AEW exists, because of main events like that and Anarchy in the Arena. I mean, where do you even start, with something like that? I mean, that match last night, to me, is exactly what's wonderful about pro wrestling. Excuse me again. Hey, get out of here. You're driving me crazy. Go. Tito is the best in the whole world, but he is just driving me crazy. He's all around my shit here, so there he goes. He's into his hole. He's into his cubby hole. See him right there? He's going into his little... Wait, turn that way. You can see his tail wagging? There's a little cubby I have built for him under there. He's finally taken his ass in there. Anyway, before we were so rudely interrupted by Tito, I was praising the awesome Double or Nothing last night. And when I watched, I guess, the majority of that Anarchy in the Arena match, my biggest thing last night is I wanted to be able to see all of the major spots. So between, Willow's ear getting chained to the ring post, the exploding table, we've got the swerve thumbtack stomp, we've got let the bodies hit the floor, and the Pointer Sisters playing. We've got staple guns to dicks, staple guns to tongues. My God, that match had everything, and I loved it. It was so much fun. And overall, it sounded like a really, really awesome pay-per-view last night, and one of the better ones AEW has done in quite some time. Some people are comparing it to Revolution 2024 and Sting's last match, maybe the best pay-per-view since then. So they really delivered last night. I think the only real issue is the same issue with every AEW pay-per-view, and they are just too fucking long. Now, I've always said I don't care about long shows. I live on the West Coast. It's a lot easier for me. But when you think about the Anarchy in the Arena match, and then after that, sending out Callis Family and Paragon, just do that shit on Collision, They gave like 25 minutes to FTR and Nigel and Garcia. There's so much time they could save if they wanted to. But the shows are very, very long, but still main event delivered despite the long show, because when you add the kickoff or the 0 hour, you're looking at what, 5.5 hour show? That's long. And if you're on the East Coast, you're talking like 1 o'clock in the morning or some shit before you're even wrapping this pay-per-view up. So I understand that the pay-per-views can be a little bit long on AEW's end of things, but hey, at least they seem determined to give us our money's worth in wrestling. And last night definitely was, for sure. Double or Nothing, terrific show last night. I want to know what you guys thought of tonight's Monday Night Raw. We had a couple of Money in the Bank qualifiers. We had a return. We had the debut of Bronson Reed in Paul Heyman's faction. And, a couple of other interesting things. But in terms of the show, I didn't think it was really that great of a show. One terrific match. That Money in the Bank qualifier, Gable, Dragon Lee, Penta, that was all kinds of fun. Gable got busted open. That was probably the highlight of the show for me, was that. Also seeing Liv Morgan come back and have her issue with Roxanne Perez. And one of the funnier things that took place on Raw tonight was WWE spoiled. Not that it was really that much of a spoiler because the writing was on the wall, but we talked talked about it yesterday in the podcast, that Vikingo is set to face Alberto El Patron, a.k.a. Alberto Del Rio, for the AAA Mega Championship in about a week. And the reason that match is being booked is so they can get that belt off of El Patron, so he won't have to be at Worlds Collide. Well, tonight, we already knew that Gable was going to be facing Vikingo at Worlds Collide, but they put up a match graphic that says it's for the AAA Mega Championship. So the WWE and AAA relationship is off to a great start. They're already fucking shit up. So not a big deal because, we talked about this yesterday, that Del Rio definitely would be coughing that belt up. But do you have to spoil it? I mean, since it's Del Rio, I don't mind because I hate him. So I'm actually happy that he's got a match spoiled, and now he has to go out there and go through the motions and drop the title in a match that everybody already knows the outcome of. I find that humorous. I wouldn't like it if it happened to a wrestler I like, or something I'm a little bit more invested in. But when it comes to El Patron, fuck that guy. So that was kind of amusing tonight on Raw. And one other little thing that I kind of noticed was the interaction between Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. I still am not sure, something might be going on there with those two. Obviously, maybe heading into a program, but I hope it's, something more than that. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about tonight. Just going to review Raw, and we're going to casually recap last night's Double or Nothing, and we'll talk a little bit about Battleground. We covered a lot of wrestling news yesterday, so if there's any other news you want to get into, just mention it in the chat and we will discuss it. But in the meantime, since our numbers have not been great on Monday nights lately, I even debated whether or not I should come up here tonight or not, but I really wanted to talk about Double or Nothing. So if you could do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button there and drop a comment in the chat. Drop a comment below if you're watching this on demand. Make sure you subscribe. Super chats are open. Memberships are open. And I'm here. We're here to talk about a lot of wrestling. Man, it was a busy weekend. It was a Memorial weekend, so I unfortunately had to work. I'm usually able to get these type of weekends off, but it was really busy, so I just sucked it up, decided to miss all the wrestling and catch up on it later. So that was kind of my weekend. So I was very happy to be off today to kind of catch up on a lot of stuff, watch some of those Battleground matches, watch some of the Double or Nothing matches, and then, of course, prepare for tonight's Raw. Before we jump into stuff, let's just do a quick shout out and hello to everyone here in the chat. Good to see Doug Unfunny. We got Ajax Johnson, Gilbert Arbalo is here, Mike Rouse, Tatanani, Jay Lambo, our boy Barry MK. We've got, Jesus, Barry, that comment. David Brown in the house. We got Michael Cuomo is here as well. Damian Drain, Daniel Barry Sports, Ricky Zalvadar, Gene. We've got Jay Boba dropping in $10. Thanks for that, my friend. In my opinion, AEW at the moment is the better product. I know the numbers don't reflect that, but I have not kept up with WWE since Mania, and I don't miss it. This is why it's good to have an alternative. I agree 100%. McDonald's does not have the best food. I think that's the best comparison I can make. WWE's got a great business model. They know how to make money. They know how to attract the audience. They are a brand as recognizable almost as McDonald's, as Coca-Cola, and they really are McDonald's. They do what they do right, and every now and then, a couple times a year, we'll get a McRib out of them or something like that, but overall, it's bland and simple, Few pockets of greatness, but overall, just, it's just more about the brand. They're the ice capades. You're going to see the WWE, not one specific wrestler, not one specific match. AEW, I'm really happy to see them structured differently. We get much different pay-per-views out of them than we do WWE. WWE can still deliver. They can still give us great moments, great pay-per-views, great matches, but the differences in the two companies is what you like to see. You don't want to see them doing the same things. So Triple H likes 5-match cards. Tony Khan likes 15-match cards that go 7 hours. So they're different. Even the styles of matches that we get are different. Look at, perfect example is look at the cage match between Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher side by side with the one a few months back with CM Punk and Seth Rollins. I mean, it's just completely different type of wrestling, completely different styles. And again, that's what you want, because if you got two companies doing the exact same thing, what's the point? I already get a little bit of annoyed with AEW sometimes, the way they've got to do the LED ring aprons and the LED barricades. Their announce tables are constructed just like WWE, even put in the same spot. They've got a little timekeepers area, just like WWE does. And I don't think that companies need to really be copying each other that much. Fans need a variety. And watching AEW go into to those smaller buildings, changing up their configuration a little bit has been really good. WWE does that too. They did that all weekend long here in Tampa for the Saturday night's main event and tonight's Raw, kind of that minimalist set. So I like that they do that and they don't keep everything the same every week. And so to have two companies that have two different identities is best. And when it comes to what's going on lately, WWE is a far cry from where they were in 2023. They had a great year that year. And it's been wonderful having Vince gone and having Triple H in charge. But we've been talking about this for about a year and a half now, that Triple H is not a perfect booker, and we've seen that. And this year alone has been riddled with creative disappointments, specifically the John Cena heel turn and all of that nonsense with The Rock. Now, granted, that's not necessarily Triple H's fault, but between that stuff and the week that Triple H went to the Hall of Fame, he did the entire week of WrestleMania media yelling at the fans or being annoyed that they criticize. Shut up and watch the product. He seems genuinely disgusted with the existence of wrestling fans. Triple H and John Cena and Nick Khan all acted like assholes all week long, especially as it related to the audience and the people that make them their money. And now, most recently, announcing that WrestleMania 42 is going to be in New Orleans. Fans are starting to book hotels, Airbnbs. The Rock comes out in New Orleans and announces the show, and WWE changes their mind for more money. So they are looking like shitheads lately, or behaving like shitheads lately. AEW has a chance here. Last night, I think helped, I don't want to say restored the feeling or whatever, but it gave you those vibes of early AEW. And I went to a lot of those shows back in the, a couple of years ago in AEW, it really was like a fun party. There was just a different type of atmosphere at an AEW show that you would find at a WWE show. Now, I've had a blast at WWE shows as well, but it's just different. There's a different vibe in the audience. And I felt like AEW kind of lost that. They really had to weather quite a big storm there after CM Punk left and all of that drama and them doing a lot of things that didn't particularly make them look very good. And I feel like they've already been through those trenches. They are now kind of crawling out of that swamp a little bit to where, fans were just kind of turned off by what they were doing. And they had a lot of, healing to do. And seeing that they're able to deliver shows like they did last night shows you that that spirit is still there. And that still exists, and it's alive and well in AEW. I even liked what Tony Khan said in the scrum. Somebody asked him about WWE's counter-programming, and he said, I haven't seen counter-programming like this since Jim Crockett Promotions, experienced some of the same stuff at this level. And he goes, it's going to go a lot differently than it did for them. And I like that. He's like, he understands. He doesn't... they're not going to go away. The fans who just are so desperate and thirsty to see this company fail. I can't wait till they fail so I can piss on their grave. I'm like, okay, you really need a friend, but and a hoe, for that matter. But that's not going to happen there, Cletus. It ain't, they're not going to go away. They're not going to get canceled. All this stuff that you really hope and dream that's going to happen, it's not going to happen. They are here. They are great competition. And now with WWE, kind of annoying the fans a little bit. They got those crazy ass prices for WrestleMania. You have to literally sell a kidney, and your organs and your sperm in order to be able to afford to go to one of these shows. And WWE is starting to turn off some of their audience a lot, in a different way. But AEW went through that too, where they were turning their audience off. I was turned off by them, so to kind of see, like I've always said, the pendulum always swings back and forth. There is no permanent white hot. Nobody stays hot all the time. Every single boom period the industry has ever seen has cooled off every single time with zero exceptions whatsoever. So when WWE really started kicking ass a couple of years ago, I'm like, that's not going to last forever. And now you can already see there's just a little bit of a disconnect there, and they're starting to lose some people. They're still going to be touting record profits, just like McDonald's does, billions and billions served, but they're still serving shitty food. So it's from a financial perspective, obviously WWE's the firm number one, always will be. Nobody will knock them off their perch. But hey, at least you got a billionaire on the other side. At least you have a guy in Tony Khan that you don't have to worry about running out of money or anything like that. He's going to be able to compete and sustain his company for as long as he wants. And they've got the talent there to do so. So I feel like, over the next year, AEW should really pounce on these opportunities of fans being a little bit turned off by WWE, put your best product forward. And we're going to be talking about that in a minute when we talk about the finals of the Owen Hart tournament last night in the main event, Hangman Page beating Will Ospreay. He's got to win. Hangman Page has got to beat Jon Moxley at All In. Obviously, there's been a lot of chatter about Darby Allin. We've been talking about Darby Allin ever since last year when he was rumored to win the title, and then they changed their mind, put it on Danielson instead. Then he lost it to Moxley, and there's been a lot of Darby rumors ever since then. And since Moxley keeps retaining that championship over and over, it kind of feels like they've been waiting for Darby to return. But I think Hangman Page is the most over character in the company alongside, I'd say, Tony Storm and maybe Swerve Strickland. And if they do another one of those bloodline fucking finishes at All In and Moxley retains again, I think you're really going to do damage. You've got an opportunity here to capitalize on the fans being turned off by WWE. You need to do the right thing at All In. And with the rumors that Moxley might retain at All In, well, then what the fuck, man? There's nothing you're going to be able to do. There's no moment you're going to be able to wait for that would be better than Hangman winning in Texas. Like if you're holding out for something, it's because you want, you think that's the best possible moment you can give the fans, or that's the best possible payoff you can do. It isn't. Darby winning the championship in Seattle. Nobody gives a shit that Darby is from Seattle. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Don't wait until Wrestle Dream if that's your plan. Think about that moment. Darby winning at Wrestle Dream in Seattle. Could that really be any better than Hangman Page winning in Texas? Fuck no, it can't. So I think it's got to be Hangman, who maybe then passes it to Ospreay, who then passes it to Darby. Maybe there's like two wrestlers in front of Darby Allin. But based on, everything that happened at Double or Nothing, I don't know if it was a creative shift, if like maybe the plan originally was for Darby and now Tony Khan's saying we got to do Hangman, or maybe the plan was for Ospreay and they've changed, I don't know, or maybe this was their plan all along. But if Hangman Page goes into All In and they do another typical Death Riders finish, with that Roman Reigns bullshit that, that they did already a few times, I think fans are going to lose their shit and they're going to lose their minds. And I don't think that's going to be good for AEW to do that. So I'm with you, Jay Boba. Sorry to discuss that pretty in detail there, but I was thinking a lot about what you said just last night, when Hangman won. I'm like, God, how can they not give him the title? How can they not do that? They'd have to be insane. Tony Khan would have to be insane not to pull the trigger here on Hangman Page. So at the end of the day, it's always good to have an alternative. And if any fan tells you otherwise, they were dropped on their head. They got no friends. They're the holiest of the holiest. And don't listen to them. Thanks for being here, Jay Boba. Cape Verdeon, 34. Good to see you. We got Ben Espinoza. Jose Lopez is here. We have Adrian Grant. I thought I said Andre the Giant. Adrian Grant is here. JL is in the house. Brian Nino. We got It's Robert. And I think that's it for the Super Chats for the moment. So right on. Okay, so like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about Double or Nothing, and we're going to review tonight's Monday Night Raw. That was in Tampa. They've ran the whole weekend there in the Yuengling Center. That is the same building where they had the Thunderdome for quite a while there during the pandemic. It's also the same building as the Royal Rumble, 1995. That is where LT and Bam Bam Bigelow kicked off their deal. That's when Shawn Michaels won at number 1. He had Pamela Anderson there, Brett and Diesel. Not one of my favorite Royal Rumbles from back in the day, but that's in the same building there at the Yuengling Center. Yuengling, another beer that I have not had since I was a kid. Feels like it's got to be 25 years since I knocked back a Yuengling. But that's where they were tonight for Monday Night Raw. I really enjoyed the set. The minimal just entrance way there, like how they did on Saturday night's main event. They kept that intact for Raw tonight. And we were here yesterday to review Saturday night's main event. And of course, in that tag match that opened the show, we saw Bronson Reed help Rollins and Breakker win, and Reed has joined Heyman's crew. So they opened up the show here tonight, and we talked about this yesterday that, they're probably going to do a pretty simple explanation for why Reed would be joining the group, considering he has a, pretty recent history with Seth Rollins and that feud, or that little mini feud, and Rollins being knocked out of action by all those tsunamis. And we talked about it yesterday. All they have to do is say Rollins, gained respect for the monster that this man is, and why would he not want him on his team? And that's pretty much what Paul Heyman said. And Heyman went on to put over Braun Breaker, put over Bronson Reed. Did not offer any sort of a faction name. I was really hoping we would get the Dangerous Alliance name tonight, but I don't think we got it. I don't think we got any name for this faction yet. There may not be one. I feel like they would have named it by now if they were going to name it. So Heyman puts over Reed, he puts over Breaker, and he says, that all of the top stars and WWE management themselves, they're afraid of Bronson Reed. That's why you never saw him in the ring with any of the top stars. And he calls Seth Rollins the most generous person he's ever met. And he said fans should acknowledge him, which I liked. I'm like, ooh, maybe just a little tease to get Roman back. I thought we might have Roman back by Money in the Bank. We might have Roman back by SummerSlam. And Rollins then takes the opportunity to speak and basically says the whole point of this faction, the point of this group is utter and total domination. They want to secure the future of pro wrestling through power and domination. Rollins wants all the power, he says. And Rollins is going to be in a Money in the Bank qualifier in the main event later on in a match that maybe surprised me a little bit. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But we also had another Money in the Bank qualifier. It was a triple threat between Penta, Dragon Lee, and Chad Gable. Now, the announce team was talking up Gable's match with Vikingo at Worlds Collide on the same weekend as Money in the Bank, and Vikingo is at ringside there. So Gable is out fucking with him. And by the way, the match was amazing. My God, it was so much. I mean, look at just on paper, when you read that, Penta, Chad Gable, and Dragon Lee, what was it Barry said earlier on? Holy shit, pass it right over here, please. And it was good. It lived up. It was so much fun. Fun TV match. Love this stuff. And after Gable was messing with Vikingo, he shows up in the match and he nails Gable in the face with a kick and hits him right in the head and busts him open. So he gets busted open, and then Penta is able to grab Gable and hit him with his driver finisher for the win there. So excellent match, and Gable getting busted open by a very reckless kick from Vikingo. But that's going to be a hell of a match, man, Vikingo and Chad Gable. And like I said earlier, WWE has gone ahead and spoiled the upcoming match between Vikingo and El Patron. It's going to be for the AAA Mega Championship. I think that happens in about a week. But the point of that match is to get the belt off of him so he doesn't have to be working Worlds Collide. But WWE spoiling it early was quite humorous. We had the big match that they advertised last week, Rusev versus Tozawa. Not much to say here. You knew this was going to be a squash. It pretty much was. Rusev locks in the accolade on Tozawa for the win. After the match, he will not release the hold. And then out comes Sheamus, his old friend Sheamus, two members of the, what was that group called? What was it called? Not a Nation of Domination, the Nation of something. League of Nations, the League of Nation of Domination. And they had a little face-off there. Rusev then retreats, chooses to fight another day. And that's when Pat McAfee said, boy, when these two lock up, it's going to be a real slobber knocker. Shout out to one of the greatest of all time. And then Michael Cole makes a point to say, second week in a row, twice in 2 weeks, but doesn't offer his own well wishes to JR of his own. Jim Ross is going to be undergoing surgery for colon cancer tomorrow. So a lot of the wrestling world has been wishing JR the best. Even JR mentioned that Steve Austin gave him a call. They talked for 45 minutes. And I didn't know that McAfee said something last week. I put on Twitter today, I'm like, WWE, you really should wish JR well tonight on the show, because Michael Cole brought up Edge's name on Saturday's main event. So there should be no reason for them not to just shout out Jim Ross a little bit. This is not something that should bother them. They even congratulated Sting when he had his retirement match. So why would they not mention him? So a few people in the replies there said, no, they did that last week. And then sure enough, when McAfee mentions JR, Michael Cole makes sure to remind us, almost as if he's talking directly to me, that they did do it twice in a row. But Michael Cole just said twice in as many weeks, and he didn't say, yes, I second that, Pat McAfee. Get well, JR, we love you. Why didn't you say that? What is their problem with Jim Ross? I don't understand. Anyway, at least Pat had the decency to shout out good old JR, and all the best to Jim Ross. Then it was time for the tag team title match. This was also advertised. They had set this up over the past couple of weeks. It was going to be a triple threat with the New Day against the Creeds and the War Raiders. Now, prior to this, I was moving around the room, so I did not see the segment with the shirtless comedian guy, Corporal Kirshner, what's his name? So the shirtless comedian guy, and then his other friend who's been on record as shitting on wrestling fans before. They're both there. They bump into the War Raiders and they act like they're all related or something. So I pretty much ignored that. The match I also kind of ignored. New Day tried to basically convince the Creed brothers to work with them against the War Raiders. And then as Julius went up to knock Ivar off the top rope, Xavier Woods double crosses him, rolls up Julius, hooks the trunks and gets the pin, secures the win for the New Day. They retain, and I'm sure that whole situation is not over with yet. They're going to have to face one or both of those teams again, I'm sure, and I'm sure that will be just as uneventful and boring as this was. Then it's time for the Jey Uso segment. Our World Heavyweight Champion comes down to the ring. Cute moment as he's coming down the steps there. He stops and brings a little girl over, and she was so cute. She looked at him and he goes, ready? And they start doing the yeet. And like the look on her face, she kind of looks at her dad like, can you believe I'm doing this? And she just looks so awesome. And I'm like, you know what? I hope that little kid grows up to win the women's championship one day. This will be a part of her A&E documentary. You know, the day I yeeted with Jey Uso or whatever. It just looked like of all the fan interactions that I've seen with Jey, you know, and any wrestling fan like interacting with a young person in the audience, that was one of my favorites. Just the look of like disbelief, like, holy shit, is this really happening on her face was pretty cool. So I hope she grows up to be a future WrestleMania main eventer one day. So Uso comes down to the ring. Of course, he's got to do the encore. Once he's in the ring, they play the music again and goes on to talk about his upcoming match in a couple of weeks on June 9th, which will be 2 days after Money in the Bank against Gunther. So also something happened here. I don't know if it was before or after Gunther came out because I was not too interested in this promo. I didn't really care what was said. This is a match in 2 weeks on TV for the title. It's just a little promo to set it up. It's not going to be anything earth-shattering. So I'm kind of like got 50% focus on it, right? But something happened. Jey Uso either forgot his lines or something in the segment there that kind of came across a little bit, I don't know, choppy and disorganized, but really Gunther basically just came out, vowed to win the title in 2 weeks, and Jey says, no, you ain't, I'm going to tap you out. So when they do have this match on June 9th, you know, you're going to have the men's Money in the Bank briefcase holder possibly present for that, but I don't see Gunther winning the title back. So what kind of a finish are you going to do? Is this going to be interference? Is this going to be a clean Jey Uso win? Or is this where we see Goldberg? I feel like if the rumors are true about Goldberg's retirement match, and they're going to go ahead and bust that out on that July weekend with All In and Saturday night's main event in Atlanta, then probably setting it up there, you know, on Raw on June 9th would be the perfect place to do that. You know, maybe Gunther can be in the crowd, or maybe, I don't know, he can just show up. I don't know. But Gunther maybe getting involved somehow to screw over, or I'm sorry, Goldberg getting involved somehow to screw over Gunther. And then Gunther challenges him, and that turns out to be his retirement match. I guess that's the way it's going to go. We could also see a cash-in, but I doubt it. I don't think they would do it that quick on Jey. It also depends on who the Money in the Bank winner is. Now, Jey Uso is going to have a match at Money in the Bank. It's going to be a tag team match with him and Cody taking on Logan Paul and John Cena. So I feel like maybe Logan and Cena will win at Money in the Bank, and then Jey Uso will win on Monday night, and then maybe Cody. I guess, you know, we're not going to get a pay-per-view in July, I don't think. So, you know, is Cody going to wrestle Cena, or what are they going to do with Cody? How are they going to kill time with Cody? How are they going to keep him away from John Cena? He's going to have to get his shot this summer. He's probably going to get his shot at SummerSlam. It's probably going to be Cody and Cena. And at this point, I kind of just hope it is and just get it over with. This whole heel turn has been a fucking disappointment. So I don't want to wait until December to watch Cena drop the title to Cody, and then, might as well just drop it to him here. And then who knows what they'll do in December. Maybe the fall and winter months are penciled in for the redemption arc. We don't even know. But I feel like there's a good chance Logan and Cena could win that tag. And then Jey can just beat Gunther on Raw after that. So we'll see how all that goes in a couple of weeks. Then we got the return of Liv Morgan. She actually returned backstage earlier in a segment with the Judgment Day when Dom and Carlito are playing video games, and then Roxanne shows up. Hey, Dom, you want a nug? And he's like, yeah, I'll take a nugget. And then she goes, oh, your shoulder looks stiff. And she goes up to grab his shoulder, and then Liv comes into frame. So Liv Morgan is back. It was reported today by Fightful Select that she was in the building, and it was reported over the weekend. We talked about it yesterday in the podcast that we would likely see her tonight. I was confident we were. Even before I got any of that information, I still stuck her up on here on the overlay because I knew we would see her. So she shows up right as Roxanne's, putting the hands on Dominic's shoulders there. And Dominic's like, you're back. And it's just so weird. Like, they act like if this is a shoot couple here, they're acting like they haven't seen or spoken to each other because the time zones from Japan to here are so confusing for Dom that he just opted to wait until Liv comes back because he just can't figure out how time zones work. So I guess that's how they try to explain why these two wouldn't be speaking to each other over the last few weeks, but Liv showing up right at the right time. She winds up walking off with Raquel, and then Carlito says something like, you got to stop eating her nuggets, man. So I think Balor Balor last week too, when Dominic got the nuggets, just the look of sheer joy on Finn Balor's face, the joy that he's getting out of this is making all of this worth it. So Liv is back. She's not happy. Dom might be in the dog house if he keeps up this shit with Roxanne. But Liv kind of blows the whole thing off. No big deal. I'm going to go talk to what's his dick about getting a Money in the Bank qualifier, and she scampers off with Raquel. They run into Kairi Sane and Io Sky. They give him a little bit of shit, and what winds up happening is a one-on-one match gets booked between Liv Morgan and Kairi Sane. So I'm thinking Liv Morgan will probably be in a qualifier next week. It's Liv versus Kairi, and during the match, Raquel is already out there. Roxanne Perez shows up when the referee is distracted, and she knocks Kairi Sane off the top rope to help Liv Morgan. But Raquel is mad about this. She goes over there and starts arguing with Roxanne. Liv is too busy looking at them and is distracted by the argument to not capitalize on the help that Roxanne gave her. Finally gets up, goes for the Oblivion on Kairi, but she blocks it, counters it, and pins Liv Morgan in a surprise win. And wait until you hear this. Are you sitting down? This was Kairi Sane's first singles win on TV in WWE since July 2020, when we all had long hair and long beards and we were confined to our homes and we had to wipe our asses with whatever we could find because there was no toilet paper. That is how long it's been since she has won a singles match on WWE TV. That is mind-blowing. Half a fucking decade. Jesus, man. Big win for Kairi. I think the reason she won here is because Liv's probably going to qualify for the Money in the Bank. I would imagine that Liv will win that qualifier if she does get it. I'm assuming she is, because that's what she said, right? I'm not mishearing that. In the Judgment Day segment backstage, she said, I'm going to go talk to Pierce about getting a qualifying match, not just a match, right? So I think she's still going to get a qualifier next week that she will probably win. After that, we had a promo from Lyra, Valkyria. She came out to talk about her match for the Intercontinental title at Money in the Bank against Becky Lynch, which was announced officially earlier on in the day. And I've made fun of Lyra's name and her gimmick a little bit, but I really like her. I like her personally. I like her ability. I think she's good in the ring, and she's been good on the mic. She's not CM Punk or anything like that, but it's just how she kind of carries herself. Like, sometimes I get nervous when certain wrestlers get out there because I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck are they going to say? But with her, it's just like, she's got her shit together. I really respect Lyra a lot, and I think she's done well, and she's held her ground. She's been able to rise to the occasion, so to speak. And she's in there in a feud right now, a long-running multi-match feud with Becky Lynch, one of the best of all time, and she is really holding her own in there. I really like Lyra, and I think this program with Becky is really going to be looked back on as really important, in her career and her growth. So she talks about Becky and the match with Becky. Becky then comes out and basically says that if you beat me, you have to shake my hand, or whatever she said at the, she said, if I don't beat you, I can never challenge for that championship again. But if I beat you, then you have to shake my hand. And Lyra goes, I've got no problem shaking anyone's hand who's better than me, but that hasn't been you yet. So it was a fun little interaction there, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think that Becky will probably win the title. They'll probably want to have the IC title or Becky's name on the IC title lineage. So she'll probably finally get that win at Money in the Bank. That's my guess, but good little promo there between the two. Sami Zayn is on his way to the ring because now it's main event time, and he runs into Karrion Kross. And Kross says, man, you should have gone to SmackDown. You'd be challenging for the title right now. And Sammy's like, I don't have time for this. And Kross says, you'll never win the title, right? And Sami kind of turns around and just like, fuck off, and goes to the ring. So I'm curious with Sami and Kross, what this means. Future alliance, program first, don't really know. We did see a push Karrion Kross sign in the crowd tonight. My theory on the whole Kross thing is they're purposely putting him on main event and not having him in matches on Raw because they're trying to fabricate and manufacture the fans getting behind him and the fans rallying behind him. He's doing a great job of that on his own. The WrestleMania promo shoot thing he did was pretty good. Fans have been showing their support for him, and he's been backing that up on social media. And whenever he has been on TV, even for a short time, feels like he really, really makes the most out of his precious seconds that he has. And I think WWE is not putting him on Raw right now in matches because this is almost better. It's almost better to keep him off TV, show him in a segment briefly here and there, put him in some main event matches just to get the fans upset. WWE knows how the fans are. We talk about this all the time. The fans are very easy to predict, comically almost. So it's not brain surgery to figure out how these twats think. So all you got to do is just keep them off TV, create the illusion that you're holding him down or you're not using him when the fans want him, when by not using him, you're strengthening, that support of the fans behind him. And when the time is right and he's got enough support, then you do whatever you're going to do with him. So the fact that we do see him on TV interacting with top people means that something is in store for him. But, for me, the longer they wait, the better. There's no rush here. Continue to get the fans louder and louder and louder for him. And this, could finally be a chance for him to do something significant because he hasn't done anything since being in the company. Nothing that he's done has been interesting. This is the most interesting I've ever found Karrion Kross. And we're being able to see that ability, that charisma that he's always had. It's always there. Now you're starting just to get to see it a little bit more and seeing what this guy can do. And I don't know if he was really given the proper opportunities before. So, whatever they're doing here, I like it, and I want to see more push Karrion Kross signs in the crowd. So I think WWE should continue this attempt to manipulate the audience into thinking they're keeping Kross held down because he got himself over, and you're not allowed to get yourself over in WWE. That's a narrative that's been pretty popular and true. So WWE can capitalize on that, capitalize on the thinking of the fans. This is what they're going to think, so let's let them think that. Let's just keep him off TV for longer. The more he's off TV, the more tweets we're going to get, the more fans are going to complain, push Karrion Kross, and then when we push them and they don't like it, then that's their fucking problem. But I feel like WWE's intentionally doing this with Kross, I believe. And we'll see where everything leads with him and Sami Zayn and anyone else he happens to be affiliated with. And then in the main event, pretty good main event, Money in the Bank qualifying triple threat, Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. I talked about this in the podcast yesterday that I didn't think that Rollins really needed to win this. He doesn't need to qualify for the Money in the Bank because he won the main event of WrestleMania. So I feel like Rollins is probably going to get a title shot at SummerSlam. But if he wins the briefcase, he's going to have to essentially call his shot. If not, somebody else is going to get the title shot at SummerSlam, and then maybe Rollins cashes in. And if Rollins were to win that briefcase, there would be no way. You would bury him if he didn't cash it in successfully, because look at the people he's got on his side. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, all they have to do is hit the ring, beat the fuck out of the champion, stand there and block the exit or the entrance way from any help coming down, and Seth can just pin the guy and win. So Rollins holding the briefcase, I almost feel like is unnecessary, because he's not going to need the briefcase to secure a title shot unless the whole plan is for him to win it in a sleazy way. Rollins winning the briefcase for this would be what, the 10-year anniversary, or it just was the 10-year anniversary of him successfully cashing in. So now winning the briefcase 10 years later, sure, that could be fun, but I feel like Rollins has a path, a lit path. His path is lit right to that championship. He's just got to bide his time, and he will get a title opportunity. That's the whole point of him hooking up with Paul Heyman. And that's the whole point of Bronson Reed joining the group, because Heyman can use his influence to get these guys their matches. They don't need a prop briefcase to get Rollins a title shot. So I didn't think he needed to win here. I was like, okay, he won at Saturday night's main event, so you can put over Balor or Sammy here. CM Punk can come down. Roman Reigns can come down. Somebody can come out and screw over Seth. But instead of coming down during the match, they came out after, or at least CM Punk did. So Breaker and Bronson Reed both make their presence known here. Breaker pulls the ref out of the ring. Jey Uso comes out. Bronson Reed comes out, and so does Dominic, who slides a chair into the ring, I guess, to slide it to Finn Balor. He slides it too far and misses, and then Balor goes to retrieve the chair. In comes Seth with the curb stomp to Balor on the chair, and pins him for the win and qualifies for the Money in the Bank. After that, CM Punk's music hits. Breaker and Reed go to the entrance to cut him off, but he comes in from behind, attacks Rollins, hits him with the GTS, and runs away through the crowd. So Rollins is now in Money in the Bank. I'm kind of hoping that he loses. I'm kind of hoping he loses at Money in the Bank and then still winds up getting a title shot at SummerSlam anyway. That's kind of how I would do it. But Rollins, if he won the Money in the Bank, it's fine. I feel like the Money in the Bank does have to go to a Raw person, because I would really like to see Naomi win it for the women. So the men's Money in the Bank is probably going to be won by a Raw dude. So, it might be Rollins, and it could likely be, because in a Money in the Bank type of match, what's stopping Breaker and Reed from coming down there and helping him? Just win. We're going to help you win. So that's all they have to do, is come down there and just annihilate everybody. Just kill them all, and then Seth can scurry up the ladder and retrieve the belts, and he's a happy guy. But like I said, what was the point of him winning the main event of WrestleMania then? I feel like that win alone should secure you a title shot, especially when your manager is Paul Heyman, the most powerful manager, the guy who seems to be able to get his men endless title shots. You've already got him on your side, plus you got a main event at WrestleMania victory in your back pocket. What the fuck do you need that green briefcase for, So we'll see how many more guys qualify, maybe in Money in the Bank. Since Punk clearly is not done with Rollins, maybe Punk comes out to cancel out Rollins or screw him out of the match, or Punk himself qualifies. I would love to see that. And that might be what they're doing. That's what I would like to see anyway. If we get... So we had is it maybe one more guy from SmackDown, one more guy from Raw? It can be 3 and 3, right? We've got LA Knight and who else qualified for over on SmackDown, and then tonight we've got Penta and Rollins. So maybe if there's one more SmackDown guy and one more Raw guy, next week, if they put Punk in a qualifier, and help me out if they've already announced this, they might have, but next week, if they put Punk in a qualifier and Punk and Rollins are both in Money in the Bank, that would be fun, because then they could essentially cancel each other out, allowing someone else to win. Or what I would like to see is CM Punk win the Money in the Bank. That's what I would like to see. Punk and Rollins both in the Money in the Bank. Punk wins the Money in the Bank, but Rollins, just like I said earlier, because he's got Paul Heyman with him and he won the main event at WrestleMania, he gets the title shot at SummerSlam. And then you can have Rollins winning the title with Punk cashing in on him. This issue ain't over, so something like that I could completely see happening and I'd be fine with, but I think I'm okay either way. I personally just don't need to see Rollins with the briefcase. I don't think he needs it. I think the whole point of having Heyman with him is to get title shots, so you don't need that. But if he won it, it would bring back 2015 vibes, and that can also be fun. Or 2014 vibes. I guess it's been 11 years now since he won the briefcase. But overall, decent Raw tonight. Give me your grades, by the way. I don't know if I even asked you for that. And it's a quick turnaround because we have Money in the Bank coming up in less than 2 weeks. 1 week from this Saturday, I guess, is going to be Money in the Bank, right? Yeah, because that's the date of Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide. They're the same day, right? So up in Los Angeles, I don't know why I'm not going to these shows, but I'm not. I'll be here watching them with you, which reminds me, I need to make sure I'm off for that weekend so we can be watching some Money in the Bank together. We will be doing that. Mike Witt, appreciate that 5 from you, my friend. Roman costs Seth the briefcase at Money in the Bank. Seth versus Roman at SummerSlam is my guess. Yeah, I didn't think about that because they did mention the acknowledge me thing, and you got to think about what Roman is going to do, and Roman and Seth would be a good match. Yeah, but, with Roman, would you wait, though? Would you wait until Seth is champion to do that match? Because if it's Roman and Seth at SummerSlam, who's Jey Uso going to face for the title at SummerSlam? Probably not Gunther again, unless McIntyre comes back. I guess Uso could face Punk. He could face Sammy. I guess he's got some opponents. But I feel like how long can you go without giving Rollins a title shot? Your scenario achieves that. Rollins, now he's in Money in the Bank. He gets screwed out of that by Roman, so now his focus is on Roman. So, they've kind of kept him distracted away from the championship. He has made his intentions known. He intends to be World Heavyweight Champion. But, if they keep throwing other things in front of him, obstacles before he can get to that championship shot, then he can stay busy at SummerSlam. But I think having Seth and Punk in the Money in the Bank match together would be a shitload of fun. And especially if Punk won, Heyman can just get Rollins a title match against Jey Uso. I'm hoping they don't do some stupid number one contenders match on Raw. I think Rollins should just be awarded a title shot based on his merit, based on his track record over the past couple of months. He should just get a title shot, no questions asked. And if he does that and Punk has got the briefy, could be fun. Let me knock out the rest of the super chats that I missed while I was flapping my gums here, and then we'll talk a little bit about Double or Nothing and Battleground real quick. What's up, Mike? I'm getting yours in reverse here. So that first $5 you hit us with. I've been watching wrestling all my life, and Archie in the Arena is my all-time favorite, or is my favorite gimmick match of all time, ECW flashbacks. It was tremendous. Let the bodies hit the floor. Like when the song first started playing and they had that split screen 4 ways. Willow is what really sticks out. Just the way she was looking like, yeah, I was like, oh, this is so badass. So much fun. That's what wrestling's all about. It's supposed to be batshit bonkers. It's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be. That's why we watch it. We're not watching it to be serious. Come on. Thanks for another 5. Mike, hot take. I think Killer Kross could be this era's version of Punk. He would be a massive babyface if they push him right. Listen to the crowds, Triple H. It would be cool, if he readopted the name Killer. He's mentioned it a couple of times in promos, teased it. So, when he does debut, if he's Killer Kross, I don't know why Killer, I don't understand why that is so offensive of a name. Killer Kross is fine. I would love for him to return to the Killer Kross moniker. Joshua Aparicio, how you doing, man? Happy Monday. What's up to Juliet? Good to see you. I don't know what goes on last at Money in the Bank. If you do the Money in the Bank match or if you do the tag. That's up to WWE. They probably don't even know that yet. It's going to have to be creatively factored in. I don't know if we want to see a one-night cash-in this year. You know, I almost feel like a one-night cash-in, they should save it and give that to New Orleans. I think maybe next year in 2026 would be a good time for a one-night cash-in because it falls after SummerSlam. So you're not going to have really any great opportunities to do it, you know, other than Survivor Series. So next year in New Orleans, let's do an early prediction. I'm going to forget this. It's a whole year away. Somebody's going to have to remind me. Let's do an early prediction. Next year, Money in the Bank 2026, late August in New Orleans. One of the briefcases will be cashed in that night. But in terms of this year, if that tag match goes on last, you've got both of the world champions. Now think about that scenario. Let's say Rollins wins the briefcase, just like I talked about earlier. If he wins the briefcase, like that's a guarantee that he's going to win because all you have to do is send out Breakker and Reed and send out all of that beef to just destroy the champion or both. Imagine that scenario. I'd actually like to see that. Reed and Breakker come out in that tag match and they annihilate everybody, including Cody and Logan, just to get them out of the way. So even Cody and Logan are destroyed. And Reed tsunamis Cena and he tsunamis Jey, and you've got the undisputed world champion John Cena and Jey Uso laying flat on their backs side by side in the middle of the ring with Seth Rollins standing there with the briefcase, and he gets to choose which motherfucker to pin. That might be fun too, but that would have to, that would be a one-night cash-in, and the tag match would have to be the main event. So I don't know. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what match will go on last at Money in the Bank at this point. I have no earthly idea. Knight needs a heel turn. I don't think LA Knight needs a heel turn. I think LA Knight needs to move to Raw, and I think he will. He'll be there by the time SummerSlam rolls around. I think even WWE knows that, Oh, my God. Yes, Alberto Del Dipshit. That works. I call him Alberto Del Fuckface. Alberto Del Dipshit also works. What an asshole that guy is. Anyway, before we wrap things up and get out of here tonight, I do want to mention a couple of things about Battleground and Double or Nothing. I didn't really watch much of Battleground, but I did see the results, and I caught a few highlights. We had Sol Ruka retaining her North American title over, I always forget her name, Kaylee Jordan, I think. We had Stephanie Vicaire defeating Jordynne Grace to retain the NXT Women's title. A lot of people thought Jordynne Grace was going to win the NXT title, and I didn't. I don't even watch NXT, and I'm like, she's not going to win yet because Stephanie just beat Julia. So if Jordynne Grace was going to win the championship here at this event, you just would have had her beat Julia. So Stephanie beat Julia. I know there might have been like an injury there, but Julia was back pretty quick, and she's already on Raw now. And so Stephanie she's on SmackDown now. So Stephanie coming up to the main roster, she will, but you just brought up Julia and Roxanne. I think Stephanie, if she was going to be called up too, what did you even give her the NXT title for? Like, what was the point? Just to make her an NXT champion for 4 weeks and that's it? And she comes up. So I did not think it was time yet. And I predicted that she would retain, and she did over Jordynne Grace. Also, her boyfriend got his ass kicked by Obafemi. Obafemi said in that interview they were doing that he was going to beat up her boyfriend, and he did. He beat Miles Bourne. I did not know that kid was deaf until like 3 weeks ago. I had no idea. I've only seen like kind of bits and pieces of, some highlight reels of him in the ring and stuff. I'm like, oh, he's kind of got like a Kyle Fletcher thing going on. I had no idea he was deaf. So that's, and he's cut promos, and things. So he was married. Apparently that's over now. And him and Stephanie Vicaire are a couple. Good for them. And the poor feller got his ass kicked by Obafemi, who I think is also going to make an awesome main roster talent one day. And as predicted, we talked about this too. Trick Williams winning the TNA title from Joe Hendry. That's pretty cool that you had the TNA championship change hands. And Trick Williams, a member of the NXT roster, is holding it. So very interesting. So that means he's going to have to drop it back. Finally, TNA is going to get a win here. At least somebody from TNA is going to be able to beat Trick Williams or for the title, unless they go full alliance here. They send another NXT talent to TNA to beat Trick Williams for the title. kind of like how they had Austin joining the Alliance to win the championship for them. Steve Austin winning the championship for WCW. Man, the Invasion. Speaking of the Invasion, at Anarchy in the Arena, that reminded me of SummerSlam 2001. The summer of that invasion, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, was the theme song for SummerSlam that year. And I remember like the hype package for SummerSlam was so lame in 2001. All they did was shoot some footage at a house show with the dim lights, nothing going on, just shooting some action in the ring, clearly shot at a live event, and then splicing Let the Bodies Hit the Floor to it, and that was it. That was the extent of your SummerSlam 2001 video package. One of my least favorite of all time, but I did like the song, and hearing that playing in Anarchy in the Arena, granted it did loop about 9 times, but the first couple of times was pretty awesome, and the whole thing was just so much fun. But that did not open the show. Mercedes, Moné, and Jamie Hayter, the finals of the women's Owen Hart Cup, opened the show. Really good match by all accounts. It was getting high praise and marks from all you guys. And we predicted Mercedes Moné to win here. She is, in belt collector mode, and they've already kind of teased, her and Tony, and with the winner getting a title shot here, all in, Mercedes Moné, Tony Storm. That's what it's all about. Those are your two top women in the company. They've both been just on a tremendous run. This is a dream match. It really is. And now they've got well over a month to build it, a month and a half to build this up. And I'm looking forward to that one. I hope Tony Storm wins. I hope maybe that she'll be the one to hand Mercedes her own loss, or they might want to save Mercedes losing to help make somebody else. Maybe Jamie Hayter can get that win back. I'd like to see Athena beat Moné for the TBS championship. And if she goes into All In as TBS champion still, she's made it over a year, who does she drop that title to? And if she wins the AEW title, will she forfeit the TBS title? I guess not, because she's not forfeiting any of the other belts. So we'll see. She's undefeated. And now she's heading into All In to face Tony Storm. And congrats to Mercedes. By the way, in my predictions, I think I got 2 matches wrong. Let me just double check that. Yeah, just 2 matches wrong, and one of them was the main event. FTR defeated Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia. There was a ref stoppage there when Garcia was put in the sharpshooter. And I was looking at the Wikipedia page earlier because I wanted to see some of these match times. And there it is. And that match went 22 minutes, and I'm like, that needed to be 12, you know what I mean? And I was not invested in that at all. When they set the match up, I'm like, I don't give a shit about this match. It's really the only match on the whole show that I cared nothing about. Man, they gave him some time too. That was crazy. From what I understand, the match was fine, but did it need to be on the pay-per-view? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got another one wrong. No, just 2. I'm sorry. This is the other one I got wrong. Ricochet defeating Mark Briscoe in the stretcher match, which was essentially an ambulance match. And it was very, very violent. Mark Briscoe got busted open bad. He had gallons of blood flowing out of his head. A real fun spot there before he got busted open where he actually grabs Ricochet in a headlock. And he had gone outside under the ring and got some cleaning products. And he's got Ricochet in a headlock, and he sprays shit on his head, and he cleans his head and shines his head. So the glare is just so strong. I'm going to have one of my friends do that to me. And he got busted open so bad. And, they did some fun stuff with the stretcher and whatnot. And I really thought that Briscoe would win here. I thought Briscoe, because of his craziness and how wild he can be, I thought he would come up with some sort of creative way to maybe tie or restrain Ricochet to the stretcher, just bust out some duct tape or staple his face to the pillow. I don't know. I thought he would come up with something just bonkers to do, and this would be the perfect type of match for him to win, beating Ricochet in a match where he's not really pinned or submitted. I referenced the ambulance match between Roman and Strowman years ago, yesterday on the podcast, and I said I think the finish to that was like Roman going for a spear and Strowman just steps out of the way and Roman dives into the ambulance and he shuts the door behind him, and that's how he lost. So I thought that Ricochet, with all of his acrobatics, could maybe go for some sort of an acrobatic move, and then he can maybe fall on the stretcher, and then Briscoe slides it in and shuts the door. I thought it would be kind of a finish like that, and then they would do one more match, maybe a lights out or something, with more a definitive winner, and then Ricochet would just win that hands down, and that would be the end of it. So I predicted Briscoe to win. I was wrong. Ricochet wound up getting the win, and he's a match like this that I wasn't sure, since given the brutality of it, if it would make sense that he could beat someone as batshit nuts as Briscoe. But that's what I like about Ricochet in this move from WWE to AEW, is that he's equal parts dork and serial killer at the same time. The spot, it reminded me of it was so satisfying. The final scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when Brad Pitt fucks them up, that group of asswads, and he takes that girl and he is slamming her head into the mantle, the fireplace brick stone mantle, just repeatedly. And Ricochet has got Briscoe's face, and he's basically just doing that right on the stretcher, and it's leaving just smeared blood. I love that spot. And Ricochet getting the win here. Hey, I'm not disappointed about it. I'm never upset when I predict something wrong, because oftentimes I'm predicting outcomes that I don't want to happen. It's just what I think is going to happen. So I'm happy to be wrong about this one. Glad Ricochet picked up the win there, and he looked pretty damn strong. Hurt Syndicate, they disposed of Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes. Shelton Benjamin got the pin on Dustin there for the win. Again, it was a fine match. MJF was out there. Him and Bobby are now apparently BFFs. So after all of that tension there with Max and Bob, they homies now. So that's going to be short-lived. I think Hurt Syndicate is going to have another match like this, and it's going to be against FTR, and it's going to be similar with MJF out there, and he's going to do something and screw that up, and FTR is going to win the championships, and then they will lose them to Edge and Christian. Kazuchika Okada versus Speedball Mike Bailey. I got to see a little bit of this match, and I got to commend both of them, because you talk about predictable. Holy crap. When I did my predictions on the podcast yesterday, how much time did I spend on this match? 9 seconds? I'm like, of course, Okada's going to win. It's Okada and Kenny. That's what they're doing it all in. He's not dropping this belt here to Speedball. But that didn't stop Speedball from giving Okada a run for his money. I felt like you could put this match in a New Japan ring. It would have held up. It would have felt right at home. It was so fun. A couple of near falls there really had you thinking. And Rainmaker took down Speedball in the end, but what was the time on this one? I just had that one pulled up too. This one match went 16 minutes, but it almost kind of like felt longer, and pleasantly surprised with how good that one turned out to be, despite the predictability of it. Another one that was unbelievably predictable, Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa. The only thing I don't think I predicted right is I did not predict the passionate kiss the two women shared after Toni Storm successfully retained the AEW championship. They just got down and dirty, and the fans were not offended, and neither was I. If they feel like they need to do that every time they see each other, I'll be okay with it. I'm at peace with it. Then it was time for Ann Archie in the arena. Batshit nuts. Like I said earlier, this is everything that's wonderful about pro wrestling. I don't understand. I mean, granted, there's the tribalism, but you have to cancel those out. The tribalistic fans, the this isn't wrestling crowd who are so desperate to feel less nerdy, always trying to make wrestling a serious sport. It's not believable. Nothing is believable. A fucking lockup when the bell rings isn't believable. So stop pearl clutching this stuff, and I like it when things go over the top. I don't mind over the top violence, provided it's not the norm. You give us a match like this every week on Dynamite, obviously, I'm going to feel like that's probably not the smartest thing to do. But having matches like this, Anarchy in the Arena, every one of them has been fun. I was in the building for the one in 2022, and that was a trip to watch. And I think it's up there with my favorite match concept. It really is, because it's just so over the top fun. I struggle to visualize WWE trying to do this. You know, they can have some great matches and some fun stuff, and they're perfectly capable of creating elaborate matches. Some of those compound matches and, you know, the New Day and Wyatt family stuff, they can do some shit. You know, they know how to do stuff. But it's just something like this, like to this level, you know, where AEW can let it hang out a little bit more. You know, nobody's going to be getting their tongues stapled in WWE. What did Punk bring out in the match with McIntyre? Like Legos or something? You know, WWE's Legos, AEW's thumbtacks, or maybe was it beads? What was it? So a match like this that has so much going on at once. You're playing like a hard rock song. The fans are just having a party. They're enjoying it. You don't even know where to look. There's so much going on. And to be able to pull that off and do it well year after year, you know, I got to give them props. Anarchy in the Arena is very fun, and I think this might be the best one they've ever done. The Young Bucks entrance. How long did Justin Roberts speak for? Had to have been like 3 minutes. This unbelievably long, elaborate, obnoxious entrance by the Young Bucks, the founding fathers, was so great. It was off to a great start right with that. And then everybody started brawling, and that's when they started playing Let the Bodies Hit the Floor by Drowning Pool. And apparently a lot of fans have just discovered this band, you know, from 25 years ago or whatever, but they were actually they created a song for Triple H, right? Drowning Pool did WWE stuff. Plus, they were the theme song for SummerSlam in 2001. And that song is kind of synonymous with like the invasion angle and whatnot. So we've heard this song associated with wrestling before, but man, did it fit here. And when it started playing, the fans marked out. The problem is it kind of looped a few times, and the fans kind of got sick of it. But that wasn't the only song they played. They also played I'm So Excited by the Pointer Sisters, the song that originally was going to be the AEW Dynamite theme. And I don't know how many weeks it lasted, but it wasn't long. They're doing Sum 41 now, right? So how long did Pointer Sisters stick around? Like 2 weeks? So they played that. That was a lot of fun. You had just shit going on everywhere. The gnarliest thing probably was Willow getting her ear hole chained to the ring post. But I don't know who got her out. I think Prince Nana had eventually found a key and got her unhooked there. And I love the spot with her. I love Willow so much. I kind of have sort of a crush on her. But Willow in the ring with Powerhouse Hobbs, and she's got the overalls on, and they both rip their shirts off. She rips the overalls off to reveal a big black and jacked shirt on both of them. It's Powerhouse Hobbs merch. And I know that, like, I'm allowed to buy that shirt. My question is for the chat, am I allowed to wear it? Because I really want to wear it to my parents' house for dinner. So I just need to know what the rules are with that. But they both revealed matching shirts. Totes adorbs. Love that. We had the staple gun out. Like I said, I think it was Matt Jackson got stapled in the penis. And then we had Swerve getting stapled to his tongue. Marina Shafir, I think, is the one who did it. And I think it really went in. Swerve posted a picture on social media. You can see something was up with his tongue. So he seems to be fine with that. Staple gunning a tongue is just, I'm not doing it. I don't care how much Tony Khan's paying me. Hey, Greg, you can go out there tonight. I'm going to staple gun your tongue. Is that okay? No, it's not okay. You are absolutely not doing that to me. The music got taken out, and I forgot, was it Claudio and Shibata? Claudio was swinging someone, right? And slammed him into just one standalone speaker. And somehow, by smashing that one speaker, it knocked out the audio to the entire match. So there's no more music. That was kind of funny. We were wondering when we were going to see Gabe Kidd. He did show up. He came in and saved Moxley from Samoa Joe's choke. And we were also wondering if we were going to see Hook. And we did. We saw Hook. He came out to get a little bit of revenge on Claudio. And Joe was delighted to see him and invited him in the ring. And then Hook was like, nah. And he just walked away. So clearly, we kind of sniffed this out right off the bat when Hook first got knocked out. I'm like, hey, you can use this as an opportunity to turn him if you want. And sounds like, or looks like, they might be going in that direction where he is maybe upset that he was replaced in the ops. But, I feel like that's a weak storyline, sort of, because is Hook dumb? Hook should understand this. You're injured. Somebody had to replace you because there's a tag match. So I don't know why he would be so upset. It's not like it was their call. It's not like they replaced him like he was healthy. Sorry, Hook, you're out. We're going to bring Hobbs in. Hook was injured. He got a concussion. He couldn't compete in the championship match. He needed to be replaced, so he was replaced. He really shouldn't be that butthurt about it. So apparently they're going to use this as a way to turn Hook against that crew, and that's perfectly fine. And we did see Hook and we did see Gabe Kidd, so they made their presences known. The finishing sequence, I think I don't know if they tried to do it in tandem or one after another, but Kenny was up with Matt kind of over by the stage, and he's got him in the one-winged angel position. Dives off the stage through a table that explodes, and it really looked like a gnarly explosion. You think about how badly they botched that Moxley and Kenny Omega match all those years ago, how terrible that looked, like a little snakes and sparklers from Joe Dirt going off. And this one, legitimately looked like it blasted them both right in the face. A big plume of white light shot out, and Kenny and Matt were both selling the face. Once he hit that, Swerve over in the corner in the ring, he's got thumbtacks on the bottom of his shoes, and he delivers a Swerve stomp to the face of Nick Jackson for the win. Team Swerve gets the win. Swerve and Kenny and Hobbs and Willow and Joe and Shibata got the win. And I'm glad I predicted that right. I felt like that could go either way, but it would be way more fun for Team Swerve to get the win here, and they did. That was so much fun. I love that. I mean, people always say, if you're trying to convince somebody to watch wrestling, what match would you show them? Instead of some technical masterpiece, or instead of the Hell in the Cell match or something like that, show them something like this. Just say, this is a bonkers entertainment. It's just wild. The crazier, the better. Nothing's off limits, And I think something like this, plus you also, you ride the line of entertaining and violent. You want to have a little bit of violence, but you want to maintain the entertainment value of it. And that can be important too sometimes, because I'm not against blood and violence, but sometimes it can get so bad to where maybe the violence overshadows the entertainment value. ECW kind of had that problem sometimes because they were so focused on the violence, situations like that mass transit incident, and some other matches with, the Born to Be Wired, is a good example of that with Terry Funk and Sabu. That left the realm of entertainment and entered into the disturbing, where a better example of ECW doing anarchy in the arena type stuff would be like what New Jack used to do. Because he might have a staple gun and he might have some stuff, but that's all done in fun. He would come out to that Dre and Ice Cube song, right? I forgot what album that's on, but that's a badass song. And he'd be hitting people with VCRs. He'd climb up to the basketball hoop and dive off, all while the song is playing. Sure, we'd get busted open. We might see some barbed wire. Somebody might get their eyelid, staple gun to their nose or something like that. But overall, it maintained its entertainment because it's wild, it's bonkers, it's all over the place. When I tuned into a wrestling show, I didn't think I'd see someone jumping off a basketball hoop, that type of stuff. So Anarchy in the Arena really has that to where you don't know where to lead. It's got women involved, hot women involved that are beating each other up and getting violent and crazy. And I think that's important. And Tony Khan is a big ECW mark, and he's influenced, by a lot of by what they did. But you do have to be careful of crossing that line into where it's like too violent. And we've seen that a few times in AEW, maybe just a little too much blood. I don't know if a lot of people really enjoyed the skewers in Moxley's head, that type of thing. So you got to know where that line is, know what you can play with. But I don't think anything really came close to crossing the line here in Anarchy in the Arena. I was much more turned off by the needle spot in that Hangman and Swerve match, where he put the needle in his mouth. Like that was way more like, oh my God, than anything they did here in Anarchy in the Arena. So this match was tremendous, all kinds of fun. And man, that right there was worth the price of admission. Good stuff. Then the poor fucking Callis family in Paragon had to follow that. They had to go in between that bonkers affair and the main event. I didn't even watch that match. All I know is the Callis family got the win. I randomly predicted that one correctly. I didn't really know who would win that, but yesterday we said Callis family would, and they did. And that left us with the main event, Hangman Page versus Will Ospreay. People were saying it's one of the best main events they've ever seen. 30 minutes or 35 did they get? My God. 37 minutes nearly. 36:56 we got on this match. And what I liked about this too is, it really just showcases how good these two guys are in the ring, specifically, Will Ospreay, but Hangman too. Hangman Page is better in the ring than CM Punk is. I said it. By a lot, if you ask me. And Will Ospreay is Will Ospreay, and some of the sequences, the hidden blade ducks and misses and buckshot stuff, all of that was so smooth. A lot of times when you go through those long sequences of ducks and nip ups and that type of thing, it can really feel choreographed. But some of these sequences in this match really felt like it was real combat. Just because of how absolutely smooth and perfect, everything comes off, especially, with the near falls and the delivery of moves and the counters and the ducks and the blocks and all of that is just, it's very, I don't know what the word is, compared to like most wrestling where you can kind of tell what they're doing. Those guys are moving so fast, your brain's not processing what they're doing in real time. You have to like play catch up. So, they really delivered in a non-title main event. No championship on the line here. Well, I guess the Owen Cup final was, but to not put a world title match on the line here, this is only for the tournament final and the opportunity to go to All In to face Moxley. We knew on Wednesday in that promo that this match was going to deliver. Like, there was no way it wasn't. They sold me on it on Wednesday. They sold me on it the Wednesday before that. Just on paper, it sells me on it. But then, they really kicked it up in the promo, really got you interested in this, and delivered just a tremendous main event. Makes you proud. Makes you proud to be a wrestling fan because, WWE can give us great matches and great moments, but it's matches like this you just don't see in that company. You just don't. So I'm glad that when you want to see a nearly 40-minute affair, that will give you the same type of vibe that, just like an Okada and a Kenny Wrestle Kingdom match would. A match like this is, where you're going to find it. And it was incredible. So good. You watch that and you're like, that's why I'm a wrestling fan right there. So between Anarchy in the Arena and the main event, those two matches, to me, automatically made the pay-per-view good. But the other matches delivered too. Hayter and Mercedes was good. Ricochet and Briscoe was good. Okada and Speedball was tremendous. And even the throwaway matches were good. I didn't need to see Garcia and Nigel and FTR, but it was decent. I didn't need to see Hurt Syndicate and Dustin and Sammy here, but it was decent. And same goes for Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Plus, we got a sexy kiss at the end of it. So, as a wrestling fan, I don't know what else you can ask for, when it comes to pay-per-views, except for maybe shaving a little bit of time off here. We didn't need the Callis family versus Paragon. You eliminate that match. Now you're talking a little bit normal, of a length pay-per-view, or you shave 20 minutes off of some of these other matches, 5 off of Garcia and FTR, maybe even 5 off the main event. Save yourself minutes here or there, wherever you can, just to make it a little bit less long for the fans. Because if you're on the East Coast, you're staying up late watching that stuff. So all in all, I got to say it was a great weekend of wrestling. I'm really bummed out that I missed it and I had to work Saturday and Sunday night. But Battleground was getting really high praise. All of those matches were good for NXT. Of course, Double or Nothing last night hit a home run. And I don't think tonight's Raw was half bad. So pretty good weekend of wrestling, pretty good Memorial Day. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thanks for kind of working with me on my weird schedule this week. I think I dropped a bunch of shorts on you on Saturday. Then we did the podcast yesterday. And, of course, no classic watch-along last night. And now we're back doing a Sunday pay-per-view review on a Monday night after Raw. Schedule's been wacky over here, so I thank you guys for always paying attention, always staying subscribed, and that type of good stuff. So we'll answer the rest of the Super Chats here and see if there's any other things you want to talk about in the chat, and then I will get out of here. We'll be back for a podcast this week, obviously. I do have some YouTube shorts I need to edit, so I'll try to throw a few of those at you this week. And we need to decide which pay-per-view we're going to watch on Sunday, which classic pay-per-view we're going to do. I think maybe a King of the Ring would be fun if we haven't gotten to all of those yet, or maybe something WCW related. I'll look at June pay-per-views and see if I can come up with something. And if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. Let me refresh this chat so I can find where I'm at. All right, I think we're in the right spot here. Sorry, I'm like kind of buffering or something. There we go. Mike, I've got 5 more from you. I think that's the next one. Hopefully I didn't miss any others. I'm a natural, impatient person, so I can't wait for the Batista-like face turn by Breakker. He will be an amazing babyface when he turns. Yeah, I kind of had him pegged to win Money in the Bank. I thought that would be fun if Rollins won the title and Breakker had the briefcase. Yeah, but at some point, Breakker is going to break out, and he's going to be jealous of Rollins and everything being about him. It already seems to be getting hit to him a little bit, as Heyman's had to kind of explain a couple of things to him. So it ain't going to be long. They're telling you that that's exactly what they're going to do. That dude is going to be the future. I just wish he didn't have that stupid name. 5 more from Mike. Once Gabe Kidd got involved in Anarchy in the arena, I was waiting to see Eddie. Yeah, maybe Eddie comes out Wednesday. I was really hoping that Eddie would come stumbling out there with a gas can. Oh, that would be great. Oh, right, Juliet. I forgot to mention that Briscoe came back out during Anarchy in the arena. Forgot about that. Mike, 5 more. I love Anarchy, but if I was going to show a non-wrestling fan a match, I'd show him the last 10 minutes of Cody Roman from Mania 40. Great. Yeah, that was fun too. There had a lot going on there. It was overbooked fun, and that's what you like. So that would be a good one. But that was so feel good, though. This is just like bonkers fun, violent destruction. That's why I liked it. Juliet, yeah, I think we did do King of the Ring 99. I kind of remember doing it. I was at that show. Sat next to Vlad. Yeah, Barry, watching 95 ECW is gnarly. It's super gnarly because they were just so, it was so much shock for the sake of shock. Every time Bubba cut a promo, well, that was a few years later, but, everything was, calling everybody the F word and, and just slurs and shit, just everything's just for shock. How vile can I be? What's the worst thing I can say? What are the worst curse words I can blurt out on a microphone, just to be that way. And everything was so new. That type of extreme style was so new in those days. It was kind of like a pressure cooker type of thing, instead of just kind of slowly, feeding us some more of the adult content, violence and things like that. It was just kind of all at once. And then it became, what can we do this week to outdo the violence and the extreme shit that we did last week? It just never ends. Anywho, all right. Well, that is going to be it for us tonight. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate it. Bag Juliet, your computer hates you. Mine's acting real funny too right now. It's kind of like I'm trying to scroll through the chat and I can't get it to smoothly scroll. So it's like stopping and it's going back up. It's a mess right now. But luckily, that's my other computer. I'm streaming on this one. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of here, guys, and call it a weekend. Thank you again for being here. Like I said, stay tuned to the channel this week. You'll see some content here before Saturday. Then we'll be here for a Saturday podcast. We'll be here for a Sunday watch-along. and I will provide links to all that stuff here this week. So just keep a lookout. Enjoy the rest of your Monday evening and the rest of your holiday, and I will be talking to y'all real soon. Take care. Peace.